Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 11th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today, we're going to be discussing the best Pixar movies. Pixar is a computer animated studio that has produced some of the most critically and commercially successful animated films ever made. They released the first fully computer animated film with Toy Story in 1995, which is now considered one of the greatest movies ever made. The release of this film set the standard in the industry of what it was going to take to make a great animated feature. Pixar has pretty much been the gold standard of children's films and animated features for over 20 years. There have been other great animated films from other studios, but Pixar just takes the cake on consistency and continuously setting the bar and raising the standards. Pixar movies have transcended through the generations, and adults are just as excited to watch them as kids are. So let's discuss the top 5 best Pixar movies ever made. Number 5, Monsters Inc. 2001, directed by Pete Docter with voice acting from Billy Crystal and John Goodman. Monsters Inc. follows the story of Mike and Sully, two monsters who work for Monsters Incorporated, a company that harnesses children's screams from being scared for reusable energy. But when a human child breaches the company, they quickly learn the evils of their company and must stop them. Now, Monsters Inc. is such a great movie. It's one of those quotable films. Mike Wazowski. Boo is one of the cutest characters we've ever seen. Mike and Sully are one of the coolest duos. They're such an interesting take on the monsters in the movie. Um, Randall, the guy who has chameleon powers, who camouflage. Sorry, he is one of the coolest little animated, like kid friendly monsters I've ever seen. I thought he was awesome. And Sully, he doesn't look scary because he's pink and blue, but he's scary still when he gets in his monster mode. He's this big dude, but he's such a sweet guy. These monsters live this regular life. Of course, Pixar knows how to create a very unique world within the stories they build. So you got another great, cool world in this movie. And they just go on a cool adventure, and everything with the doors and the screams and just how they went about doing it. It's just great. Pete Docter is really great with the films. Another one of his films will be on this list later. I saw this movie back in theaters in 2001. I was a kid. I think I was like 10, and the movie blew my mind. It was great. I remember it so vividly, going to see it, me and my buddy Jess, way back in the day. It was so fun. Monsters Inc. I feel like this is one, Pixar movies are super popular. I'm sure everyone's probably seen every movie I'm going to talk about here. But if you have not seen Monsters Inc., hop on Disney Plus and watch it. It is very good. Number 4, Toy Story 3, 2010, directed by Lee Unkrich, with voice acting from Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. Toy Story as a franchise is one of the rare franchises where the best film can arguably be any of them. Each of the Toy Story films has a unique charm about them that definitely separates them from the next. Whether or not you like that unique charm it possesses, it has to be admired and appreciated. Toy Story 3 has the charm of the other three films all rolled into one, making it this unique film that just hits every single human emotion one can possess. In this story, Andy is ready to go to college, and our brave toys are in fear of being put in the attic and never being played with again. They end up going to daycare thinking this will be the answer to their problems, but quickly find out things could not be worse. Toy Story 3 is it might be my personal favorite Pixar film, that or one other on this list, because Toy Story 3 resonated with me at that current time. Andy and I are technically the same age. When Andy was going to college, so was I. Same year, it came out that summer. I just graduated high school and was getting ready to go to college that fall. And Andy and I were very similar. Growing up, growing out of things and, getting into different things, getting ready to start the next chapter of our lives. And Toy Story 3 shows that so perfectly. And I'm just gotta say the writers had to know who their audience was with this one because I felt like I was more excited for Toy Story 3 than any little kid walking around, and most of the kids my age were. I went with 3 other people, all my age, and me and my boy are sitting in the theater crying at the end, tears. We're in that theater crying, man. It was emotional, it was sad, but this movie is so funny. I was dying of laughter watching this. I have seen this movie so many times. Toy Story 3 cracks me up. I can watch it anytime. The characters they added are brilliant. When they get to daycare and you meet Ken and you meet all the little like gangster type characters with the octopus, and Lotso and Big Baby and like all these new characters are just so fun. They're hilarious. The way they went about it, it was just so brilliantly written. It was so brilliantly written. And Woody is at the top of his game in this movie. Woody is going so hard in this movie. Like, this is my favorite version of Woody out of any of the Toy Story movies. The Toy Story 3 just it's got a charisma to it that the other 3 just don't have. I'm not saying it's the best one, but it has a charisma to it that the other ones don't have, and I think that's undeniable. Toy Story 3 is brilliant. And you guys, I all you watching this, I know 99% of you have seen Toy Story 3. So I'm not even gonna tell you to watch it. You know how good it is. You can argue with me if you want. Number 3, Inside Out, 2015, directed by Pete Docter, with voice acting from Amy Poehler and Phyllis Smith. Inside Out follows a young girl going through depression as she and her family uproot their lives and move across the country. It shows the different emotions and how we handle them inside our head. It displays the inner workings of the brain and how our emotions help us deal with real life situations. Things go haywire inside this young girl's mind, and we start to see her change and unravel as her emotions fight to get her back to normal. Inside Out. If you've seen this movie, you probably got emotional right when I just said the title of it. Because Inside Out is one of those movies that if you're a real human, if you're a person with real emotions and you feel for things, if you don't shed at least one tear during Inside Out, man, you are a steel cage. I'll tell you what. Inside Out had me. I think I cried the entire last 30 minutes of the movie. Like I'm not even gonna lie. And I'm one of those weird people who real life situations really don't rattle my emotions that much, but I'll watch a movie and I'll get so emotional from it. I'm weird like that. But Inside Out, one of those movies that definitely hits you hard. This movie is so clever, so brilliantly written, and so gorgeously animated. It's such a pretty film. It looks amazing. The way the emotions are designed and animated, they look so great. It's so clear as to what they are, what they're supposed to be. You can just look at them and tell what emotions they convey. They are the voice acting here is perfect. Everyone voices their emotions so perfectly. They are so great. Like my favorite emotion was probably disgust, Mindy Kaling, and Joy, of course. Everyone loves Joy. Joy was amazing. Her and Amy Poehler were amazing doing their voice acting. Louis Black was just incredible. Everyone involved here. Phyllis Smith as Sadness was just she was so great. She just made you sad. Like her voice just made you sad. She was incredible. Everything, the particular details, the research that went into the mind to figure out the inner workings of it was just down to the wire because when you watch this film, you really are like, I feel like this is how the brain works. I'm not a freaking brain specialist. I can't tell you how the brain works, but watching that movie, it all felt like it made sense. It felt like this is how the brain would operate, and this is how things would go for somebody going through depression or who's experienced a traumatic event and they don't know how to cope with it. I think this is why the importance of therapy is stressed these days so much because, depression is on the rise with all the different things that are going on, especially we're talking about this today in 2022. It's tough. It's tough being alive, being a human in this world today. And there's a lot of things we are all going through and trying to cope and deal with. And I think this movie really, really shows the importance of that. So if you haven't seen Inside Out, especially someone, if you're going through something, give Inside Out a watch, man. It might give you put a little bit of perspective on things for you. Number two, Ratatouille. 2007, directed by Brad Bird, with voice acting from Patton Oswalt and Lou Romano. Ratatouille tells the story of a rat named Remy who is much different than the pack and has a love and talent for cooking. When tragedy separates him from his family, he meets a talentless young chef named Linguini who rises to stardom with the help of Remy the rat. Now, if you've seen Ratatouille, you already know that it is one of the funniest Pixar movies ever made. Ratatouille is absolutely hilarious. I love Ratatouille. Ratatouille makes me laugh every single time I watch it. Uh, the head chef is so funny. He's all short and he's got the great little French accent and that he just cracks me up. He's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so harsh." Like if you if you watch Ratatouille, I'm telling you, you can't help but love it. Remy is such an admirable little tiny rat. Remy is such a cool little character. He's slick, he's smooth, he's like he's real laid back. I just like the way Remy rolls, and Remy knows what to do. Remy's down. Like Remy's smarter than most of the humans in the freaking movie. And Linguini is just this funny, long, lanky rail, linguini-like built guy who's just so freaking klutzy and goofy, and him and Remy just make this great pair, and Linguini just cracks you up because he's so dumb and silly, but he's such a sweet guy, and, he has all the best intentions in the world, and he's one of the only people who's willing to look past, surface level things and see deeper, and that's what this movie is about, and that's what's the beauty of Pixar movies in general, is Pixar can really lay out things and show you how something looks beyond the surface. And this movie is one of the great examples of that because looking beyond Remy's physical characteristics, this guy's got more heart and emotions than most people put together. I'm telling you. Ratatouille, it hits hard. It hits hard, man. When you watch Ratatouille, it stirs up all your emotions. No, it's not gonna make you cry or nothing crazy, but Ratatouille is just so funny and it's just such an enjoyable film. It makes you want to go cook something. It's just it's a cool movie, man. It's a great one. So definitely check out Ratatouille if you haven't seen it. Ratatouille wasn't one of the more popular Pixar movies, but definitely gotta watch it. Now, before we get into our top pick, I got a couple honorable mentions. I picked five, all right? No particular order. A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, Wally, Up, and The Incredibles. Now, guys, for our number one, I had to go with the cliche. You guys can probably guess it, but it's number one for a reason. And I'm going to go with Toy Story 1995, directed by John Lasseter, with voice acting from Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. I know you guys probably saw this coming, but it's the one that started it all, and it's one of the best. I can't say it's my absolute personal favorite Pixar, but it is a strong contender. And this movie set the standard of what it takes to make a good animated feature. The reason we barely see two-dimensional kids movies anymore. It changed everything and it kind of invented its own genre. Toy Story tells the emotional story of Woody and Buzz, two toys who must learn to work together in order to get back to their owner Andy after being separated. This is a movie I'm sure we've all seen a lot, but this movie has tons of themes like love, imagination, jealousy, friendship, trust, loyalty, and a bunch of others. And they elevated them in a way that they tell this story and the amazing new visuals we weren't seeing at the time. This film was something completely new and different that we were seeing. Back in 1995, I saw this in theaters. I was very, very young, too young for my memory to really be kicking in core ones yet, but I remember seeing this film in theaters because there was nothing like it at the time. Toy Story changed the game. It changed everything. It shot the standard up for kids movies, for animated features, and it was a great thing. It was a great thing for film, definitely a great thing for the kids genre. Now, when we go into a kids movie, we go into a kids movie with high expectations. We go into I think most people go into kids movies now expecting to like them 9 times out of 10 more so than when they go into live action features. Kids movies, when you go to a kids movies, you know there's a good chance you will at least enjoy it. Whether you love it or not, whether you think it was great, you will at least probably have felt like you got your money's worth. Whereas, you go into some live action movies and you're like, yeah, this might suck. Not with kids movies, at least not today. And this movie is the big reason why. Toy Story is personally for me, it's my childhood summed up. I grew up with Andy, you know. Andy and I were the same age in all the movies. And I had toys. I played with toys just like Andy did. And all other kids, all of us kids, anyone watching this who was a child who grew up with toys and unfortunately kids growing up today, they're really more concerned with tablets and video games and stuff like that. So they don't really deal with physical toys as much. That's why we don't have Toys R Us and stuff like that anymore. Physical toys back in the day, if you grew up, was a huge part of your childhood. It expanded your imagination, and that's what Toy Story is. Toy Story is a kid's imagination on full display, and there's just something beautiful about that. And Toy Story harnesses this sense of nostalgia for 90s kids that almost there's only a couple other movies that can really do it the way Toy Story does. Every time I watch Toy Story, it puts me right into a certain time in my life. It puts a smile on my face and it warms my heart with thoughts of my childhood. And I think anyone growing up with Toy Story who grew up in the 90s can say the exact same thing. Toy Story is an incredible film with incredible visuals, incredible voice acting, incredible direction, and it is perfectly written. Toy Story is a perfect film. It is a 10 out of 10 movie, and I don't think that can be argued. If you want to argue that there's better Toy Story movies, I'm fine with that because personally, I think Toy Story 3 may be my favorite Toy Story movie, but I go back and forth between that one and this one. But Toy Story is a perfect film, and for originality, nothing beats it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed my list of the best Pixar films. Maybe one day I will go through and I will rank all 20 plus Pixar films. If you guys would like me to do that, drop it down in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.